There comes a moment in life when everything that seemed stuck suddenly starts moving. A moment when your heart receives a signal that no one else can hear. As if an invisible door has just been unlocked for you and you alone. If you've recently felt that something is brewing, that your soul is restless without understanding why. If you feel a silent calling, as if Allah is drawing you closer to something you've been waiting for a long time, then stay here. Because what you're about to hear in this video isn't just a reminder. It might be the confirmation you've been searching for, an answer your heart has been waiting for months, and you definitely won't want to miss what comes next. You know that strange moment when nothing, absolutely nothing, moves outside, but your heart begins to tremble gently. Not a tremor of fear, not a tremor of doubt, a tremor that feels like a silent announcement, as if something invisible is approaching your life without making a sound. It's a sign that only those who have waited a long time understand. A sign that comes neither through words nor through eyes, nor through events. A sign that descends into the heart, like an intuition you didn't create yourself. An intuition that whispers to you, it's coming soon. Prepare your soul. How long have you been walking like this? How long have you been moving forward with these prayers that you hide even from those closest to you? How long have you been carrying these silent hopes, these plans that you no longer dare mention because everything seems so slow, so far away, so impossible sometimes? You accumulated nights where your pillow held more secrets than any confidant. Days where you smiled even as your heart crumbled inside. Moments where you thought that maybe what you wanted wasn't for you. That maybe Allah had something else in store for you, or worse, that maybe you weren't worthy of what you were asking for. But what you never saw was how closely Allah was watching you during that time. You thought you were waiting. In reality, you were undergoing an invisible transformation. Sometimes, waiting isn't a wall. It's a place where Allah takes you down into your own heart, to remove whatever would prevent you from bearing what you ask of Him. You weren't put on pause. You were prepared. You didn't know it. But each delay tore away an attachment. Each silence healed you of a fragile intention. Each unanswered day lifted a weight from your soul that you would have carried later, if Allah had given you what you wanted too soon. That's why, without realizing it, you changed. You are no longer the person who offered that first prayer. You are no longer the one who first articulated that dream. Your heart no longer holds the same fragility. Your faith no longer has the same form. Your gaze no longer holds the same naivety. You were shaped in a silence that many don't understand, because rarely does the outward appearance reflect what happens within the soul. You may have lived an ordinary life, but inwardly, Allah was working on you like gold in the heat, slowly, delicately, but profoundly. And that's why, one day, without anything changing in your schedule, without anyone giving you any news, without any visible sign crossing your path, something switched on within you. A strange peace, a clarity that came from nowhere, a certainty that defies human logic. You saw no change, but you felt a change. You received no message, but you picked up on a message. You heard no voice, but your heart began to speak. As if Allah were placing within you a new trust, a trust you had never had before. Not an arrogant trust, no. A gentle trust. A trust that doesn't shout, but settles in, slowly, deeply, until your soul ceases to tremble. Then you feel the delay that had so wearied you dissipate. You feel that what you thought was far away is starting to draw closer. You feel that what you thought was lost has never strayed from the path Allah has laid out for it. You feel that dream you had tucked away in a corner of your heart is gently knocking again, as if to say, I never disappeared. I was just waiting for you. And perhaps you don't yet realize that this feeling never appears without reason. Perhaps you don't yet understand that this inner certainty isn't just your imagination. Perhaps you think it's just a fleeting moment of hope. But those who have already experienced this know something. When Allah opens a door in the heart, it means He's about to open a door in life. And what if what you're feeling today isn't just an emotion, but a subtle sign that a new chapter is about to begin? What if it wasn't you who suddenly decided to believe, but Allah who put you in the necessary spiritual state to finally receive what you've long awaited? Because sometimes, destiny begins to shift long before your external life changes. The first movement is within the soul. Imagine the scene. You are alone, in an endless valley. The sky is heavy, almost too close, as if it has been weighing on your shoulders for months. The earth beneath your feet is dry, cracked, marked by the traces of all the prayers you have left behind. Prayers no one has seen, but which your heart has sown like seeds in the dust. Each step you take leaves a footprint. Not a footprint of sand, but a footprint of weariness, patience and endurance. The days are all the same, the nights grow longer, and yet you keep going. You keep going because something inside you refuses to stop. A remnant of light that has never left you. A remnant of faith that has never faded. Even in the moments when you thought you felt nothing anymore. You know this valley. It is the one where answers don't come. The one where the doors remain motionless, even when you knock with all your might. The one where you feel like everyone is moving forward except you. The one where you sometimes wonder if Allah has forgotten you, if your cries are lost in the vastness of the sky before they even reach the top. And yet, you keep going. You keep going because a silent voice, a voice no one else hears, tells you that this isn't the end. You keep going because there's something inside you that knows this valley isn't a tomb, but a passage. Even if you don't understand where this passage leads, even if you have no proof, you walk. The days go by, sometimes you stop, exhausted. You place your hands on your knees and breathe as if your soul is suffocating. You look around you and nothing has changed. The same darkness, the same silence, the same emptiness that makes you feel like no one is there, that no one sees you. And it's in one of those moments, a moment when you least expect anything, that something happens. Not thunder, not instant healing, not a door swinging open like in the stories we hear. No, it's more subtle, gentler, more sacred. There, in the distance, in the thick of the night, a glimmer appears. Not a light that illuminates the entire valley, just a point, a fragile, almost timid flicker, as if the light itself hesitated to reveal itself to you too soon. And your heart reacts before your eyes even understand. It stirs. It recognizes this light. He recognizes it because it isn't new. It was there from the beginning, but you weren't yet in the right frame of mind to perceive it. You squint, you move closer, and the closer you get, the more you realize that this light is neither a coincidence nor an illusion. It is proof that your story was never abandoned. You thought you were walking alone, but you were being guided. You thought you were lost, but you were being directed. You thought you were being forgotten, but you were being molded, worked on, shaped by a wisdom your heart wasn't yet capable of understanding. What you took for a blockage wasn't a blockage. It was a protection, a barrier placed before you to prevent you from rushing towards something that would have broken you if you had received it too soon. What you believed to be a delay wasn't a delay. It was an alignment, an invisible adjustment between your soul, your destiny, and the paths you hadn't yet seen. What you called waiting wasn't waiting. It was a shift. An inner shift. Subtle, slow, but necessary. You weren't left standing still. You were moved toward a version of yourself capable of bearing what you ask for. For sometimes, in this dark valley, Allah removes everything you know, not to punish you, but to teach you to recognize Him in the unseen. He places you in a realm where nothing responds, where nothing moves, where nothing happens, so that your soul learns to see what cannot be seen, to hear what cannot be heard, to feel what cannot be explained. And it is there that you understand that the light you now see in the distance is not just a sign, it is an invitation. Prove that something shifted in your destiny long before you realized it. Is light. You don't chase it. It draws you in. It calls to you. It announces that a passage is opening, slowly, as if the invisible world is finally beginning to synchronize with everything your heart has endured, asked for, hoped for. And as you move toward it, one step after another, you sense that this valley wasn't where everything ended. It was where everything began, just not yet revealed. You held back your tears before Allah so many times. Sometimes you even forbade yourself from breaking down. You convinced yourself that you had to be strong, that you had to hold on, that you had to manage your ordeal as if vulnerability were a weakness, when in reality, it was your proof of endurance, your act of being present before Him. There were nights when you lay down without finding a single place in your heart that didn't ache. You tried to fall asleep with heavy thoughts, worries you swallowed silently, as if your soul feared being discovered to be too fragile. You gritted your teeth, you clutched your pillow, you clutched your silence. And in that silence, it was Allah you called upon. Not with complicated words, not with a long speech, often with a simple, Ya Allah, help me. No one heard those words. No one saw your heart clench as you spoke those words. No one felt the burning behind your eyes just before you held back tears once again. But He did. He heard you. He saw you. He knew exactly what you were trying to keep hidden. You confided your fears to Him, sometimes without even naming them. You confided your wounds to Him, even the ones you've kept hidden for years. The ones that have transformed your character, your way of loving, your way of protecting yourself. You confided your losses to Him, the ones you've never truly come to terms with. Those losses that have changed you, that have left shadows within you that you've never wanted to show the world. And you confided your exhaustion to Him, that exhaustion that goes unseen, the one that isn't visible on your face, but lives inside, like a weight dragging you down each morning. You kept going even when your heart had lost the strength. You kept being there for others even though no one saw you emptying yourself. Day after day. You kept smiling, even when your soul was silently cracking. And if you only knew how much every breath you held, even when you were at your limit, every sleepless night because your thoughts were racing, every worry you swallowed without complaint, every tear you wiped away before it even fell, if you only knew how much all of this mattered and that nothing, absolutely nothing, was ignored, you would understand that your heart was never alone in carrying this weight. You would understand that every pain you held back was seen, counted, known. You would understand that even your silence spoke for you, and that Allah listened to it more than any words. Sometimes we think our trials are too small to be taken seriously. Sometimes we think our wounds are too intimate to be heard. Sometimes we think our fears are too irrational to be understood. But Allah doesn't look at the size of your trials. He looks at the intensity of your heart as you go through them. And you have gone through things no one could imagine. You have survived storms that you let seem like mere breezes. You have extinguished inner fires, and sometimes even you don't know how you emerged alive. And if you only knew how much weight all of this carries, like every act of patience, however small, like every return to Him, however incomplete, like every tiny spark of faith you've kept alive, even on the verge of fading, if you only knew what all of this has built in the unseen realm, perhaps you would feel right now that something has just been released in your destiny. Not an explosion, not an instant miracle, but a subtle release, like a knot untying in your soul before untying in your life. Perhaps you can't explain it, but you feel that the weight you've carried for so long is beginning, gently, very gently, to dissolve. You feel your heart breathing a little more freely. You also feel that what you've been waiting for, what you've been calling for, what you've been hoping for, what you've been repeating in your prayers, is drawing closer to you. You sense a movement, a shift, a change you can't yet see, but that your soul perceives as a stirring, a breath, an invitation to hold on a little longer, as if something you don't yet understand, was happening. There are times in your life when everything seems to fall apart around you. Relationships fade away, opportunities vanish, doors that seem solid slam shut, and you stand there with the strange feeling that something is slipping away, that something is being snatched from you when you least expect it. What you don't know is that these cuts aren't destruction. They aren't losses. They resemble losses. They have the bitter taste of losses, but they aren't losses. They are prunings. Allah prunes in your life like a gardener prunes a tree, not to hurt it, but so that it grows taller, stronger, straighter, and one day bears fruit that would have been too heavy for its old branches. There is something painful in this pruning, yes, something incomprehensible, because the tree doesn't understand why what it believed essential is being taken from it. It doesn't see the next season. It doesn't see the future harvest. It sees only the immediate, brutal, silent loss. And yet, if you could have seen what those dead branches prevented you from accomplishing, if you could have seen the burden they would have placed on you later, if you could have seen the new strength they blocked within you, perhaps you yourself would have said, "Take them off." But human beings don't see the roots of their own story. They only see the surface. They see what falls, never what grows. There are times when Allah brings you face to face with emptiness. An emptiness so vast that you wonder how you will ever cross it. An emptiness where you lose your bearings, your certainties, your comfort, sometimes even your identity. An emptiness that compels you to ask, why me? Why now? Why like this? But the emptiness isn't there to make you fall. It's there to pull you away from what you were holding on to too tightly. It's there to free you from what you thought was essential. It's there to teach you to see what you would never have noticed if you had stayed on the easy path. The emptiness is a waiting room, a silent initiation, a spiritual training ground where your soul learns to look beyond what is visible. Because as long as you had everything in front of you, you never looked back. You didn't see what you were running from. You didn't see what you needed to heal. You didn't see what needed to come out of your heart so that you could finally receive what you were asking for. The emptiness revealed the truth to you. Not the one you wanted to hear, but the one your soul needed to face. And then there are those days when everything shuts down. Absolutely everything. You pray, you knock, you ask, you hope, but nothing moves. Everything seems blocked, locked, inaccessible. So you panic. You think it's over. You imagine you've lost your chance, your timing, your destiny. You believe the efforts you've made for so many months have just been swept away in one fell swoop. But you don't see what's happening behind you. You don't see the door opening behind you at the very moment you're crying in front of the one that remains closed. You don't see the invisible path realigning itself to lead you exactly where you need to go. You don't see the hand of Allah moving the pieces of your life with a precision you'll only understand later. You think a closed door is a rejection. But sometimes, a closed door is divine protection. Sometimes, it prevents you from entering a season that would break you. Sometimes, it prevents you from encountering what isn't meant for you. Sometimes, it prevents you from accepting something that would have jeopardized everything Allah has prepared for you. And behind you, there is that other door, the one you never imagined, the one you never dared ask for, the one you never thought you deserved. A door your destiny had long awaited, but your soul wasn't yet ready to pass through. And it is precisely in this sequence, in this strange zone where everything seems to close, where everything seems to be lost, where everything seems to crumble, that many people unknowingly experience the final stage before fulfillment, the last night before dawn, the final knot before release, the final test before liberation, the final silence before the answer, the final tightening before opening. It is a mysterious zone, an invisible junction between your old life and what awaits you. A zone where you feel oppressed, but where your destiny is set free. A zone where you feel lost, but where your soul finds its direction. A zone where you believe you are losing everything, when in reality, you are approaching what you have long called for, just a little closer than you think.
What if I told you that your waiting wasn't a setback but a message? Not a void, but a subtle language sent to your heart? What if this frustration that has been gnawing at you for weeks, the one you hide, the one you hold back, the one that burns in your gut, wasn't an obstacle, but a warning signal? An inner vibration that says, it's time to listen differently. What if your impatience wasn't a flaw, but a compass? A compass that tells you you're standing too close to something you don't yet understand, but whose presence your soul already senses. What if what you want, what you yearn for, what you repeat in prayer, in silence, in a sigh, wasn't late at all? Not lost, not forgotten, not set aside. What if everything is already in harmony, already aligned, already descended into the unseen, patient, awaiting your inner maturity? Imagine for a second, what if everything you think you're waiting for is actually waiting for you? What if the thing you so desperately want has been ready for a long time, like an open door just waiting for a step, but demanding that you be able to bear the consequences? Because wanting is nothing, everyone wants. But receiving is a burden, a responsibility, a transformation. What if Allah had simply waited for you, yes you, to reach the exact point where your heart stops asking out of lack and begins asking out of understanding? What if Allah had waited until you became strong enough not to ruin your own fulfillment, clear enough not to make it an idol, stable enough not to collapse when He gives you what you want? What if the truth were much deeper than you imagine, and that Allah doesn't expect your effort, nor your perfection, nor your agitation, but your openness, your true surrender, the one who is no longer afraid of losing, the one who no longer needs to control everything, the one who says, I don't understand, but I move forward? What if Allah wanted to elevate you before giving to you, to empty you before filling you, to purify you before offering you, to stabilize you before entrusting you? What if everything you are experiencing now, the waiting, the uncertainty, the frustration, the feeling of being forgotten,
were actually just the phase where Allah is adjusting your heart so that it becomes capable of receiving what He has already planned for you. Because Allah is never late. Never. It is you who arrives at the right time, not destiny that is delayed. What if what you are waiting for was destined for you before your birth? Written in a book you have never seen, but whose imprint you carry somewhere in your soul? What if what seems blocked was simply being aligned, fixed, prepared, purified, synchronized with who you are becoming, not with who you were? What if what Allah delays is only what would cause you to fall today, but make you flourish tomorrow? What if you finally understood that to receive the thing you must first become the person? What if the answer to your prayer is not a door that opens, but a mirror that turns back on you at the exact moment when you are true enough to recognize yourself in it? What if everything that troubles you, everything that irritates you, everything that tires you was actually the final sieve, the final filter, the final tightening before destiny unfolds before you all at once, like a light being switched on in a room where you've remained in the shadows for too long? What if what you're waiting for was closer to you than you ever imagined? There is a moment in the believer's life that no one can truly describe with words. A moment that resembles neither a spectacular miracle nor a visible sign, but rather an inner, silent, almost sacred transformation. This moment doesn't happen because you persistently sought it, nor because you repeated a supplication until exhaustion, nor because you tried to be perfect. It happens because Allah wills it. This moment when something shifts within you, something formless yet filling your entire being. You can't explain it, but you know it's real. You don't understand where it comes from, but you sense that it's ancient. As if your soul recognizes a movement your mind had forgotten. It's that precise moment when your destiny, after months, perhaps years, of seeming motionless, locked, frozen, suddenly begins to move forward. You feel something descending toward you, not physically, not materially, but spiritually. You feel the inner walls you built to protect yourself begin to crack. You feel the fears you've carried for far too long suddenly lose their power. You feel even the things you believed were impossible, inaccessible, too big for you, are drawing near. Gently, but clearly. It's not spectacular. It's subtle, but so powerful that you can't ignore it. It's as if Allah is drawing your destiny closer to you and you to your destiny at the same instant. You see nothing moving around you, but you feel everything moving through you. You feel you're no longer in the same season. You feel you're no longer the same person. You feel something within you realigning, recentering, straightening. And this state, this rare state, this state that some wait for their whole lives without even understanding what they're waiting for. You don't create it. It's Allah who places it in your heart when He wants to open a door for you. One day, you wake up, and without knowing why, the doubt you've carried for months has disappeared. Not completely, but enough to no longer control you. The weight you had on your shoulders is still there, but it no longer crushes you. The emptiness you felt transforms into space. Agitation becomes direction. Fear transforms into clarity. You realize that it's not your problem that has changed, it's you. Your soul enters a state that attracts what was being held back. As if Allah was saying to your destiny, now, move towards it, it is ready. And what is striking is that this change doesn't come after a dramatic moment, but after a period of exhaustion, waiting, confusion, sometimes even after a period when you felt forgotten, set aside, invisible. Why? Because it is often when you surrender, when you stop trying to control everything, when you cease trying to force what won't open, that your heart reaches this unique state. A state without arrogance, without agitation, without resistance. A state where you are no longer asking out of fear of missing out, but asking out of connection. No longer in the I want, but in the I understand. No longer in give me before I collapse, but in give me when it's right. It's that precise moment when your heart settles into a silent certainty. Not a loud, arrogant, theatrical certainty. A subtle, profound, stable certainty. The one that says, Allah has never forgotten what I entrusted to Him. And it is this certainty, not your efforts, not your impatience, not your insistence, that unlocks things in the unseen realm. It is this certainty that pushes back delays. It is this certainty that removes obstacles. It is this certainty that aligns circumstances. It is this certainty that prepares encounters, opportunities, openings. Because Allah never gives what is great to a heart that still trembles. He gives it to a heart that has understood that nothing happens before the right spiritual moment. And that this moment is not the one your mind imagines, but the one your soul reaches. That is why sometimes Allah slows you down, holds you back, empties you, cleanses you, reforms you inwardly. He waits for your heart to reach this rare state where you no longer ask out of escape, but out of alignment. Where you no longer seek a miracle to fill a void, but a door to fulfill what you are meant to become. And it is there, exactly there. At that moment, when your heart stabilizes, when your soul finds peace, without explanation, when your vision becomes clear for no apparent reason, that you understand what you thought was far away was never far away. What you thought was lost was never lost. What you thought was blocked was never blocked. It was just waiting for this moment, this inner shift, this invisible maturation, this new vibration. Your time is approaching. You can feel it. Even if you can't explain it to anyone else, you can feel it. In your body, in your chest, in those nighttime thoughts you can't seem to silence. In that strange energy you feel when you wake up, as if something is being prepared behind the scenes, discreetly, but precisely. It's not a feeling. It's not a passing emotional state. It's not your mind racing. It's a real spiritual movement. You are emerging from a silent phase, a phase where Allah withdrew you without abandoning you, a phase where He put your desires on hold, to work on who you were meant to become, a phase where nothing was happening outside, because everything was happening within. And you have no idea how much this phase has shaped you, how many parts of you have been removed, how many wounds have been laid bare, how many beliefs have been shattered so that stronger ones could be born, how many unnecessary layers have been torn from your soul without you even realizing it. You think you've wasted time. But in reality, you've lost illusions. You think you've stagnated. But you've matured. You think you've been put on hold. But you've been repositioned. Look closely. You no longer experience the world the same way. You no longer react the same way. You no longer ask the same questions. Your gaze no longer holds the same depth. Your heart no longer holds the same fragility. Your mind no longer holds the same naivety. This is what waiting does when it comes from Allah. It doesn't kill you. It transforms you. It doesn't punish you. It elevates you. It doesn't hold you back. It grants you. And now that your heart has changed, now that your soul has gone through what it needed to go through, now that you have left behind what was holding you back, you are entering something else, a different realm. A realm where destiny is no longer dormant. A realm where the unseen finally begins to work with you. A realm where what was closed to you is reopening, slowly, then faster and faster. You feel this transition, even if you can't yet put it into words. This sudden surge of motivation, this desire to do things differently, this need to reconnect with Allah in a purer, more sincere, more intimate way, this desire to distance yourself from everything that drains you internally, this refocusing on what is essential, this sudden disgust for what was toxic, this strange calm that replaces your fear. All of this is not random. It is a spiritual repositioning, a reorganization of your destiny, a discreet but precise preparation, a descent of what was written for you, which is finally approaching the moment when it must manifest. You are leaving a period of restraint. You misunderstood this restraint. You believed that Allah was withholding something from you, but in reality, He was protecting you from something. Because there are things that, if they happen to you at the wrong time, destroy you. But if they happen to you at the right time, they elevate you. And Allah, in His wisdom, never offers something beautiful to a heart that isn't ready to bear it. He waits for the moment when that thing becomes not a burden, but a springboard, not a distraction, but a mission, not an addiction, but an empowerment. That's why you waited. That's why nothing came. That's why you felt like everything was locked down. It wasn't a rejection. It was a calibration, a repositioning, an adjustment of your soul so that it could receive without collapsing what is happening now. Because yes, now it's happening. Not tomorrow, not in a year, not when you're perfect, but now. Because now you vibrate differently. Because now you're no longer in the same inner energy. Because now you're no longer asking from a place of lack, but from a place of alignment. And in that case, destiny waits no longer. This time, there will be no delay. Because you've stepped out of the old version of yourself. That version that was afraid, that doubted too much, that sabotaged itself, that prayed to escape, that looked for signs everywhere without listening to its own. You've stepped out of that version. And that's why Allah is bringing you into a place where what is meant for you finally begins to move toward you. No detours, no closures, no slowdowns. Because what is meant for you has finally been commanded to move forward. Because your soul has put itself in a state where it can bear what is coming. Because your season has changed without warning. Because what was written for you is approaching at a speed you don't yet understand. What is meant for you is moving toward you. And you feel the air change. You feel your intuition intensify. You feel your mind clear. You feel your heart strengthen. You feel your energy realign. Nothing is visible yet, but everything is already in motion. If what you heard resonates with you, it's not a coincidence. When Allah prepares a transformation, He always places a sign on your path. And sometimes that sign is a word that falls at the right time, in the right heart. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not stuck. You are in transition. So keep this message with you, and don't let your soul return to doubt. You may be just one decision away, one prayer away, one inner step away from the shift you've been waiting for so long. If you want to continue nourishing your soul and strengthening your connection with Allah, subscribe now. Like this video, if it touched you, and share it with someone who needs a sign today. Because when Allah decides it's your time, nothing, absolutely nothing can delay it.